Hello, my amazing gratitude babes. Today I have a very special share. I want to share something that recently clicked for me this week. And it's not something that I learned for the first time, okay? It's just something that I realized doing a course that I recently found. So I shared in one of my Come Sit in Gratitude with Me posts last week that I came across a Hermetics course by Dr. Stephen Young. Well, I just completed it and it was rather easy to get through. But if you're not familiar, the Hermetic Principles or laws are considered the foundational principles of how reality actually works. Okay, there are 7 laws that govern reality, and I'll just give you a general definition of each law. So the first law is the law of mentalism, which says that all things come from the mind, all things come from thought. And then the second one is the law of correspondence, which says that your inner world mirrors your outer world. So as within, so without, as above, so below, right? The third law, the principle of vibration, tells us that all matter are energy vibrating in different densities at certain vibrations, at certain frequencies. So everything boils down to protons, neutrons, electrons vibrating in different concentrations of densities at different frequencies. Therefore, everything and everyone are all connected, and basically the concept of universal oneness is illuminated here. Okay, now the principle of polarity, which says that everything has opposites like yin, yang, up, down, left, right, night, day, essentially the duality that runs through life, right? And then the principle of rhythm is the 5th law that says that everything goes in cycles. And so nothing is static, everything is cyclic. We also have the principle of cause and effect, which is actually the 5th law. Law of rhythm was the 4th law. The principle of cause and effect says that everything has an input and an output, meaning for everything you do and everything you don't do, there's an equal and opposite reaction or consequence. It says essentially that we are the cause of everything in our life, whether we're directly or indirectly the cause. And the 7th is the law of gender, which says that everything has masculine energy and feminine energy. The masculine energy is the giver, the initiator, the action taker, and the feminine energy is the receiver, the creator, the expression energy. Okay, so that is high level definition of the principles or the laws. And as I was going through this course, I kept waiting for some huge revelation to happen, some earth-shattering piece of information that was going to completely change the way I see manifestation and life and just, living as a spiritual and physical being. But the funny thing is, that never happened. That never happened. Instead, what I found myself sitting there thinking was, like with every law I learned, I was like, well, duh. Well, yeah, that tracks. That checks out. Yeah, I already know this, right? And I'm not saying that because I'm some like manifestation guru or I'm some like spiritual guru or anything. I'm not special. But just because I've gone through years of my own spiritual awakenings and practices and learning rituals and modalities and even teaching gratitude and manifestation, I realized that I've been living these principles without knowing that there are that they are under these laws, that there are these labels for them. I never thought about boxing them into these these boxes of called laws, right? And I will say though, there was one lesson in particular, one principle that actually got me thinking a lot, and not because it was the first time I'd heard or something earth-shattering happened. No, one principle did make me feel like, oh, okay, this is the reason I'm here. This is what the universe wanted me to realize, and that was the law of polarity, which again is the law that all things have an opposite energy, the duality of it all, right? And one of the main ideas that Dr. Stephen Young teaches on this principle is that because all things carry 2 polar energies, every intention and every thought and every desire always carries the opposite energy with it. Okay, so basically what this is saying is whenever you're trying to call something that you desire into your life, you are simultaneously acknowledging the existence of its opposite, because you can't invoke one without the other. Everything carries its opposite energy. Okay, so if you're thinking I want abundance, you're also reaffirming the existence of being broke, not being abundant. That's basically what that means. The moment you set an intention to manifest something, you are maybe unknowingly reaffirming the absence of it, the opposite of you having it. Okay? And when I heard that, I immediately thought, well, that's a way I've never looked at it before. Like, wow, this explains why manifestation feels, at least conscious manifestation, because we're always manifesting, right? Conscious manifestation feels so difficult for so many people. Because think about how most people try to consciously create something, right? They start with, I desire X, right? Because you have to declare what it is you want first. So they start with what they want. I want more money. I want more love. I want a successful career, business. I want to lose weight. I want a better job. And at first glance, that seems perfectly reasonable, right? When you are initially declaring what it is you desire, it's perfectly reasonable to say, I want X. But what happens the moment you focus on what you want is you immediately become aware of the fact that you don't have it. You immediately become aware of what you don't have. The moment you say, I want more money, your brain registers, oh, right, duh, because, well, you don't have enough, right? The moment you say, I want love, your brain's like, right, because you're alone. The moment you say, I want a successful career or business, your brain's like, yeah, of course, duh, because your business, your career isn't where you want it to be. You see that? The desire instantly illuminates the absence. The moment we focus on one side of the pole, one side of the polarity, the other side becomes visible as well. And because of that, manifestation becomes this exhausting cycle of trying to overcome awareness of what isn't here yet. This is where I think so many people get stuck. They're taught to focus on their desires, visualize the thing every single morning, and affirm the thing all day, every day, and think about the thing, and do the all the seconds, and dream about the thing, and obsess about the thing. But what they're not realizing is that for many people, focusing on the desire keeps activating the awareness of the lack of it, right? And then they're stuck wondering, like, why does this feel so hard? Why does manifestation feel so forced? Why do I feel resistant? Why can't I believe my affirmations? Because a part of you is instantly staring at the opposite, constantly reaffirming the other pole. And this is where something really interesting hit me. Okay, that's when I realized why Spirit led me to this training that I thought, ugh, I spent $300 on this. But then it hit me. The Gratitude is Yummy method and the journal are way more powerful than I ever even thought, y'all. And I was listening to this lesson. I kept hearing like, well, the Gratitude is Yummy method kind of eliminates that issue. Well, the Gratitude is Yummy method kind of makes that irrelevant. Well, and I was like, oh my God. This is why GIY is so different and why it's going to change so many lives. Because the Gratitude is Yummy method doesn't actually begin with what you want. Every day, what do we start with? We begin with what we already have. And that's a very different starting point. Every single day we sit down and we write 3 things we're grateful for. And not just what we're grateful for, but why we're grateful. Because the why is what activates gratitude. The feeling activates the vibration, and the vibration changes the experience. So instead of beginning with, I want this, I want that, we begin with, I am grateful for the money I had to buy groceries this week because it allowed me to nourish myself and my family. Oh my God, do you notice what's happening? When I switch from, I'm grateful to have money, to being specific, I'm grateful for the money I had to buy groceries this week. Why? Because it allowed me to nourish myself and my family. just reading that as an example is literally lighting up my body. It feels different. We're not focusing on lack. We're not focusing on the opposite pole. We're not feeding the opposite pole. We're just using the things that already exist on the positive pole that we want. We're focusing on the provision, on the support, on the evidence that it's already here. We're focusing on what already exists. And that you can do because everybody has something good in their life every single day. There's something good in every day. Okay, that was the biggest realization for me. It was that the Gratitude is Yummy method does not manifest from desire. GIY manifests from having. And those are not the same thing. A lot of manifestation techniques ask you, what do you want? Gratitude is Yummy asks you, what do you already have? What is already working? What evidence already exists? What abundance is already present for you? Because when you start there, a lot of things shift within you. Instantly, you stop chasing the feeling. You start generating the feeling. And that changes everything. This is why gratitude itself feels so immediate. Because think about it. When you sit down and you genuinely appreciate something, your nervous system changes. Your breathing changes. Your emotional state changes. Your perception changes. Even your desires change. Okay, nothing in your physical world is going to change instantly, like right away, but your experience of your physical world changes immediately. That's vibration. That's frequency. That's energetic alignment. And that's not from you forcing anything. That's from you feeling what's already present for you. That's from you feeling the positive pole. Okay, or I should say the desired pole. Right? Gratitude changes which side of the pole you're feeding. The opposite's still going to exist. The lack is still going to exist. The two poles will always exist because that's the law of polarity. That's the principle of polarity. The two poles will always exist. The lack will exist. The fear will exist. The loneliness will still exist. The failure will still exist. But you're no longer watering those experiences with your attention. Okay, you're watering something else. You're watering support, provision, love, connection, possibility, abundance. And what you repeatedly water tends to grow. And that's why we do gratitude before we script. Because gratitude prepares the soil. If you skip gratitude and just script, it will likely come from fear, from desperation. And when you script from those energies, then you're constantly going to be in the cycle of, oh my God, it's not happening. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? But when you script from appreciation, everything feels different. You're no longer trying to convince yourself that your dream is possible. You're already sitting inside this energy of support, inside this energy of possibility, inside this energy of already having. And from that place, the script becomes so much easier. So much more natural, less forced, less performative. And the more I continue to think about this, the more I realized that the Gratitude is Yummy method and journal naturally incorporates almost every Hermetic principle. The law of mentalism. Your thoughts shape your reality. The law of vibration. Gratitude changes your emotional frequency. The law of correspondence. Your inner world begins reflecting into your outer world. The law of polarity. You consciously shift your attention from lack towards abundance. The law of rhythm. When you practice every day, consistency creates momentum. The law of cause and effect. New thoughts create new feelings. New feelings create new actions. New actions create new outcomes. Even masculine and feminine energy are present. Gratitude is receptive. Scripting is creative. This is where we're creating. And action, and the action part is directive. And I found that so fascinating because I never actually sat down and said, I'm gonna I'm going to create a journal based on the 7 Hermetic principles that govern our reality. Like, I never did that. Gratitude is Yummy came from experience. It came from observing my own life, from watching what actually worked, from seeing how gratitude repeatedly changed my state and eventually my reality. And that's where it came from. The Gratitude is Yummy method helps you master these principles and use them to shape your reality without you even realizing you're doing that. It is the one tool that doesn't ask you to force belief, to fake abundance, to spend all day thinking about what you want. Instead, it teaches you how to anchor into what already exists, the goodness that's already present in your life. Because when you learn to recognize the abundance, the love, the support, the opportunities, the evidence that already is present in your life, you naturally begin shifting your thoughts, your emotions, your vibration, your actions, and ultimately your results. Without memorizing the Hermetic Laws, without studying all this ancient philosophy, without knowing what the word is, like what they're labeled as, what it's called, without trying to become this manifestation guru or expert. You're innately practicing them every single day. 3 gratitudes and why, a manifestation script, a feeling to embody, inspired action. That's it. And yet, hidden within that simple daily practice are the principles of mentalism, of vibration, of correspondence, of polarity, of rhythm, of cause and effect, of gender, all working together in harmony. I never would have imagined that that's what I've created. I believe that's why the Gratitude is Yummy method and journal work so well. Not because it's teaching you how to get what you want, but because it's teaching you how to become conscious of the reality you're already creating. So yeah, if there's one thing I took away from studying the Hermetic Principles, it's this. You don't need to become any master manifester guru who knows all the words and all the verbs and all the verbiage and all the titles for anything. You don't need to memorize any spiritual laws. You don't need to force any beliefs. You don't need to perfectly visualize. You don't need to fake abundance. You simply need to become aware of the abundance that already exists. Because the moment you do, you stop creating from lack and you begin creating from having. And that is a completely different frequency, a completely different emotional experience, and in my opinion, a much easier way to manifest. So that's it. That's my big realization this week. Not that the Hermetic Laws taught me something new, but they gave language to something I've been experiencing for years. And it made me realize, made me appreciate the gratitude. Sorry, my window's open. It made me appreciate the Gratitude is Yummy method even more, because what started as a simple gratitude practice has become something so much deeper, a daily way to consciously choosing which side of the pole I'm going to feed. And maybe that's what manifestation's all about. Not forcing reality, not chasing a dream, not controlling the how, but intentionally focusing on the parts of reality you want to expand. When this realization hit me, it felt like such a beautiful confirmation of the Gratitude is Yummy method and the journal, because for years I've watched this practice transform my own life. I've watched it help me move through divorce, through financial uncertainty, through fear, through heartbreaks, through seasons where I had absolutely no idea how things were going to work out. And somehow, every time, gratitude brought me back to myself. Every time, it helps me reconnect with what was already working, what was already beautiful, what was already abundant. So sitting here learning about the Hermetic Principles and realizing that the Gratitude is Yummy method naturally embodies all 7 of them felt like the universe was literally whispering to me, "See, Jules, you've been on the right path all along." And I'm truly grateful for that beautiful awakening, because it reminded me that Gratitude is Yummy isn't just a journal. It's not just a gratitude practice. It's not just a manifestation tool. It's a framework for living, a framework for consciously creating the way you experience reality one day at a time. And if that's what we've been doing here all along, guys, then I think we're onto something pretty darn magical. And I can't wait to keep exploring it with all of you and watching all your dreams materialize as well. Okay, so that is it. That was my big realization this week. Thank you all so much. And actually, I would love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever noticed that focusing on what you want sometimes makes you more aware of the fact that you don't have it, makes you more aware of what you don't have? Let me know in the comments. And if you'd like to experience the Gratitude is Yummy method for yourself, finally, you can order yours at gratitudebabe.com. I'll also leave the direct link below in the description. All right. Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for holding space for me to fully express here. I love each and every one of you. Until next time, thank you, and keep looking for the evidence because it's already here. Ciao for now.